Are we rolling? I think we're rolling. Today's video, I want to talk about what it means to stay creative, how I stay creative, and what I do when I'm just honestly not feeling it. But before I do, let me share some personal updates. Work has been super busy lately. I feel like a little bit behind, to be honest, on my YouTube channel. Today is actually the day before Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to you. And so I actually haven't been able to just fully sit down and think of ideas of the content that I want to create. And then my fiance and I, we are planning our elopement. And so that has been fun, trying to coordinate all these things. Even though it's gonna be a small event, it's actually very fascinating just how many things that you have to plan for. And so that's been kind of a surprise to my fiance and I, even though we're gonna keep it very simple as it can be, I believe. So now that we're in February, I've been trying to stay consistent in the gym still. Honestly, I've been slacking a little bit. It's been really tough to get myself into the gym. And then I get mad at myself for not showing up to the gym. But honestly, I've been trying to give myself some space to just be like, hey, listen, if you're not feeling it, you're not feeling it, and just we'll make it up next time. So that's what I've been telling myself. Today, I did go to the gym, so we are not behind today. All right, that's enough for personal updates. Let's go back to how I stay creative. Creativity is a muscle, and it's not built off of inspiration. So you gotta flex that muscle, because similar to working out, if you don't use it, you lose it. And I feel like I had a little bit of that this past week and a half. So I've been creating content for a long time, but a lot of the times that when I was creating the content, it was always a little bit unstructured and kind of off the limb and just spontaneous content. And so maybe I see something on Instagram, or maybe I see a movie, or maybe I see something that's particularly inspiring, and it would, well, inspire me to create content. And that's kind of what I would rely on a lot of times for the content that I'd create. But eventually, I started to run out of that inspiration. And I had to look at myself and be like, oh shoot, I don't know what I want to create, because I thought in order to create good content, you have to have this like dramatic feeling and just like, oh, I'm so inspired to make this in order to create it. And I would find it so difficult to pinpoint exactly what I wanted to create. And then I would just not create. I would get into the period of time where I would have that analysis paralysis, and I would just simply not create anything because I get so overwhelmed with trying to make it perfect and trying to find that exact particular thing that I wanted to create. First off, if you're trying to figure out what content to make, I would say create content that you would like watching, that you would spend time on your Saturday or your off hours watching. Try to be consistent at creating. It doesn't always have to be like a YouTube video, and it could be something small, but trying to stay consistent in challenging your brain. Because honestly, just like working out, if you stop using that creativity muscle, it starts to weaken over time. And so I think it's important to be consistent. And that's honestly too why I'm challenging myself to at least make a YouTube video every week. But even that can be a little challenging, because I want to create content that's valuable, insightful, entertaining, interesting, all those things. And I also gotta love it too, because there's videos that I filmed a video yesterday and I did not like it. So sometimes I can get in my head, it can be a little tough, but it's important to stay consistent, develop that muscle. So don't forget to flex that creativity. All right, so this next one is kind of a two-parter. It's living your life and then changing your environment. A lot of the times when I get into this slump, I feel like it's because I might be going through the motions, through my day-to-day, or things feel very repetitive. And to be honest, a lot of my ideas are stemmed from real life experiences. And so at least for myself, I think it's important that if I'm not being present in the moment of where I'm at, then I need to make intentional effort to do so, or do things that will bring me to that level of presence for whatever it is that I'm doing. And so, go treat yourself out. Go to a different coffee shop, go to a different neighborhood, go try something that you never thought you would do before. I think whatever it is that you're creating, whether it's videos, art, I think you can really find inspiration anywhere, no matter where you're at. Even if it's just going for a walk, sometimes I do that. I also find a lot of creativity during the gym when I'm working out. I think it's because it's just really quiet usually, and I'm one of those people that I can only listen to music in the gym sometimes. I can't do it all the time. It just gets too repetitive, and I actually start to get like tired. So oftentimes I'll just like be thinking. I'll have my headphones on, but I'll just be thinking of something, or I'm thinking of ideas, or I'll listen to a podcast too. There's many different ways that you can sort of find those moments in your life, be present, and then pull inspiration, or let that inspiration find you, or those ideas find you. The part two of this is changing your environment. So I know for myself, there are places that I go pretty often. There's spots in the house that I would typically sit in. And I think it's a good idea to just switch it up, to change your routine up a little bit, give that perspective a refresh. I think this is why a lot of people, when they travel, they come back feeling so inspired, because they change their environment, they change their habits, and it forces them to think differently. Because when you have something that is so cookie cutter or like typical structure, it can be really easy to just get lost in the moment and just going with the flow. And so changing that environment, I think, can really play a strong factor and bring that creativity, because again, it's like forcing yourself to think a little bit differently. So maybe you sit in a spot in your apartment or your home that you've never sat in before. I know for a fact that there's probably areas in this place that I've like just never sat before. Or maybe it's just going to, like I said, going to a different coffee shop, living life. Maybe you take a very typical way to go to work. Give yourself some extra minutes. Why don't you go to a different way? I don't know. Maybe not every idea I say. Maybe that's not a good one, but I think you get the gist. It's thinking about how can you break those patterns here and there when you're feeling those moments where you're not having a ton of ideas come to you right at the spot. Whoa, 3 different locations in one video. How fancy am I? The next thing that I do to get a little boost of creativity would be to consume content with intention. So the difference between consuming content and then consuming content with intention would be like if I'm watching a movie, I would just simply watch it, enjoy it, experience it as the director would have wanted me to. But if I'm watching it with intention, I'd be watching the movie to see what the movie did great, to see what it did badly, to see where there's room for improvement. Are there areas in the movie that I could have done, or that I could have done better if I were to be filming the movie? But it's looking at other people's content that inspires you, but then also having your own twist. So it's not always necessarily like what's better, but how can I make it my own? How can I make it unique? How can I take what they've done and make it my own? Now this needs to be done carefully, because you can very, very easily get into the doom scrolling, where you're just like looking for inspiration, and then you're like 30, 40, 50 TikToks in or reels in, and eventually it's going to become a sort of like analysis paralysis, where you have actually so much information that it actually just prevents you from creating content. And so what I do is, if I'm looking for just a jolt, just a small boost of ideas, or to just kind of like set me back on track, I'll take a look at other people's content. I'll see what I like, what I didn't, what I thought maybe I could do to make it my own, or make it more unique. And then I will simply just start. Consuming content doesn't always have to be the digital medium, right? I mean, it could be movies, other creators, videos, music, but it can also be physical things like looking at paintings, going to museums, looking at architecture, looking at the beauty of nature as well. Consuming content with intention is not criticizing. It's not like, oh, why does this content suck? It's like, why is this art or content beautiful? Why do I feel so engaged with it? And it's asking those questions to yourself, and then reverse engineering that. I'm so fancy, I use big words for your own self. So like, this painting is great, why do I love it? I love it because XYZ. Maybe I can take that and do that for my own thing. Boom. So those are just a few things that I do to try to stay creative. It's easy to get lost in the process, and to get into that analysis paralysis. But try to find the beauty in the things that are around you. You don't have to do crazy, adventurous, big things. There's a ton of beauty around you, and I think it's understanding all those elements of why it speaks to you, why those things engage with you, and then taking that and figuring out, okay, how can I do the same, replicate it with my art that I want to be creating. So that's the video. I'm gonna head back to my desk to do the outro, so I'll see you over there. You coming? All right, so that is the video. Thank you so much for spending your time watching this video. I hope that this video helps. I hope that it can continue to fuel your creativity. And remember, flex that muscle. This video is only gonna do 1% of the work. The 99% of the work is on you now. So be consistent, go try new things. All right, let's do a quick channel update. Today is February 13th, 2025, 8:35 p.m. And look at that. We are at 6.99 followers, almost at 7K, road to 10K. Here you go. Thanks so much for your support, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.